Silence is the birthplace of greatness. Your happiness is not for public consumption. It's the secret ingredient that fuels your destiny. When joy bubbles up inside you, when your heart soars with excitement, when you feel on top of the world, that's precisely the moment to seal your lips tight. Why? Because true power lies in restraint. You see, we live in a world obsessed with noise. Everyone's shouting their successes from the rooftops, parading their happiness for all to see. But I'm here to tell you, that's not the path to lasting fulfillment or real achievement. Think about a pressure cooker. What happens when you seal it tight and apply heat? Incredible things. The pressure builds, flavors intensify, and ordinary ingredients transform into something extraordinary. Your happiness, your dreams, your ambitions, they're the ingredients of your destiny. And your mouth, it's the release valve. Every time you blurt out your joy, every time you rush to share your latest win, you're releasing that precious pressure. You're robbing yourself of the very force that could catapult you to unimaginable heights. Now, I'm not advocating for a life of misery or telling you to suppress your emotions. Far from it. I'm urging you to cherish your happiness, to savor it, to let it simmer and grow within you. Because when you do something magical, your joy becomes a quiet confidence. Your excitement transforms into unwavering determination. Your happiness evolves into an unstoppable drive that propels you forward, even when the world can't see it. And remember, the tallest trees in the forest grow in silence. They don't announce each inch they gain. They don't boast about every new leaf. They simply grow, drawing strength from deep within, reaching ever higher towards. You are that tree. Your happiness is the sunlight, the water, the nutrients that fuel your growth. But the moment you open your mouth to proclaim it, you're scattering those resources to the wind. The world doesn't need to witness your happiness to validate it. Your joy doesn't require an audience to be real. In fact, the most potent, transformative happiness is the kind that burns quietly within you. I think about the great achievers throughout history. Did they parade their every small victory? Did they constantly seek validation from others? No. They understood the power of silent progress. They knew that true greatness is cultivated in moments of quiet reflection, not in the glare of public attention. Now, you might be thinking, but isn't sharing joy a good thing? Doesn't it spread positivity? And you're not entirely wrong. There's a time and place for celebration. But here's the crucial distinction. Share your journey, your struggles, your insights, but guard your happiness fiercely. Why? Because happiness is your fuel. It's the secret sauce that will carry you through the toughest challenges. When you keep it close, when you nurture it privately, it becomes an inexhaustible wellspring of motivation. Imagine you're an athlete training for the Olympics. You don't broadcast every personal best, every milestone reached in practice. You channel that energy, that sense of progress into pushing yourself even harder. You let your performance on the day of competition speak for itself. Your life is that Olympic event. Every day you're training, growing, preparing for your moment to shine. Don't dilute your power by constantly narrating your progress. Let your actions, your achievements, your very presence speak volumes about the joy and purpose that drive you. Here's another powerful reason to keep your happiness under wraps. It protects you from the negativity of others. We live in a world where, sadly, not everyone will celebrate your success. Some people, driven by their own insecurities or jealousies, will try to dim your light. When you keep your happiness close, you create a shield around your spirit. You become impervious to the doubts and criticisms of others. Your joy becomes a secret weapon, fueling you silently while others underestimate your power. Think of it like a stealth aircraft. Its strength lies in its ability to operate undetected, to accomplish its mission without drawing attention. Your happiness is your stealth technology. It allows you to navigate life's challenges, to pursue your dreams without painting a target on your back. Now let me be clear. This isn't about becoming cold or unapproachable. It's about discernment. It's about understanding the precious nature of your inner fire and protecting it at all costs. You can still be kind. You can still uplift others. You can still be a beacon of positivity in the world, but do it from a place of quiet strength, not from a need for external validation. When you master this art of silent happiness, you'll notice something remarkable. People will be drawn to you almost magnetically. They won't know exactly why, but they'll sense an aura of confidence, of inner peace that sets you apart. You'll become like a deep, still lake. On the surface, calm and unassuming. But beneath, teeming with life, with potential, with a power that others can only guess at. This is the paradox of true influence. The less you proclaim your happiness, the more impactful you become. The less you seek attention, the more people will be naturally drawn to your presence. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You worry that keeping your happiness to yourself might make you seem aloof or unfriendly. Let me assure you, nothing could be further from the truth. When you cultivate this inner reservoir of joy, it seeps into every aspect of your being. Your eyes will sparkle with an inner light. Your smile will carry the weight of unspoken victories. Your very presence will radiate a calm assurance that others will find irresistible. You don't need to announce your happiness for others to benefit from it. Like the sun, you'll warm those around you. Simply by being who you are, no words necessary. But here's the truth to speak, your words will carry immense power. Because they'll come from a place of deep, unshakable contentment, you won't be seeking approval or trying to impress. You'll be speaking from the overflow of your inner abundance. Imagine the impact you can have when your words are no longer cluttered with the need to prove your happiness, but instead flow from a wellspring of genuine joy and purpose. That, my friends, is how you change lives. That's how you leave a legacy. Now, I'm going to address something important. This principle of keeping your mouth shut when you're happy isn't about suppressing your emotions or living in constant silence. It's about understanding the power of timing and intention. There will be moments when sharing your joy is not only appropriate but necessary. Moments of genuine connection with loved ones, times of collective celebration, instances where your story might truly inspire. The key is discernment. Ask yourselves, am I sharing this happiness to truly connect or uplift others? Or am I seeking validation? Am I strengthening bonds, or am I just feeding my ego? When you approach sharing from this perspective, you'll find that your moments of expressed joy become infinitely more meaningful. The less you talk about your happiness, the more genuine your connections become. People will sense that you're not trying to prove anything, that you're secure in yourself. This authenticity will draw them to you in profound ways. About the people you admire most. The true leaders, the game changers, the individuals who've left an indelible mark on the world. Do they constantly broadcast their emotional state? Do they seek validation at every turn? They operate from a place of quiet confidence, letting their actions and their impact speak for themselves. You have that same potential within you. Every time you resist the urge to proclaim your happiness, you're building that muscle of self-assurance. You're telling yourself, my joy is valid without external approval. My worth is not determined by others' recognition of my emotional state. This practice also cultivates a deep sense of gratitude. When you're not constantly verbalizing your happiness, you create space to truly appreciate it. You become more present, more aware of the small joys that pepper your day. Imagine savoring a delicious meal in silence, fully immersed in the flavors and textures. Now imagine trying to narrate that experience in real time to someone else. Which scenario allows for a deeper, richer experience? The same principle applies to your happiness. By keeping your mouth shut, you're not diminishing your joy. You're amplifying it. You're creating a sacred space within yourself where happiness can grow unencumbered by the need for external validation. This internal focus also makes you more resilient. When your sense of well-being isn't dependent on constant affirmation from others, you become bulletproof to life's inevitable ups and downs. Your happiness becomes a stable foundation, not a fleeting emotion that needs constant expression to feel. Now, I want to address a common misconception. Some people might think that keeping your happiness to yourself is selfish, that it goes against the idea of spreading positivity in the world. Nothing could be further from the truth. When you cultivate this inner reservoir of joy, you become a more powerful force for good in the world. Your actions, fueled by this quiet happiness, will speak louder than any words. And you lift others up not through empty platitudes of forced positivity, but through the genuine warmth and strength that radiates from your being. Think about it. Who has a greater impact? The person who's constantly proclaiming their happiness, or the individual who silently works to make the world a better place, driven by an unshakable inner joy? The answer is clear. By keeping your mouth shut when you're happy, you're not hoarding joy. You're transforming it into something far more potent. You're turning fleeting emotions into lasting purpose. You're converting momentary elation into sustained drive and ambition. This practice also sharpens your focus. When you're not expending energy trying to convince others of your happiness, you can channel that focus into your goals, your dreams, your mission in life. You become like a laser cutting through distractions and obstacles with unwavering determination. Imagine the progress you could make if you redirected all the energy you currently spend talking about your happiness into actual action. The results would be staggering. You'd become unstoppable. I want to touch on something vital for the relationship between silence and self-discovery. When you resist the urge to vocalize every happy moment, you create space for introspection. You give yourself the gift of truly understanding the source of your joy. In our noisy world, this kind of self-awareness is rare and incredibly valuable. It allows you to cultivate a happiness that's genuine and lasting, not dependent on external circumstances or others' approval. Silence also attunes you to the deeper currents of life. You become more sensitive to the subtle joys, the quiet victories, the moments of grace that others might miss. Your happiness deepens, becomes richer and more nuanced. Think of it like developing a refined palate. The less you talk, the more you taste. The more you savor, the more you appreciate the complex flavors of life's experiences. Hey, this heightened awareness extends beyond just happiness. You find yourself more attuned to all your emotions, more in touch with your intuition. This emotional intelligence becomes a superpower, guiding you through life's complexities with grace and wisdom. Now let's talk about the impact this practice has on your relationships. When you're not constantly verbalizing your happiness, you create space for deeper, more meaningful connections. Have you ever been around someone who's always talking about how happy they are? It can be exhausting, even off-putting. But someone who radiates quiet joy, who listens more than they speak, who's clearly content but doesn't need to prove it. That person is magnetic. By keeping your mouth shut when you're happy, you become a better listener. You create space for others to share, to be vulnerable, to connect with you on a deeper level. Your relationships become less about impressing each other and more about genuine understanding and support. This approach also makes your words more impactful when you do choose to express your joy. Because it's not a constant stream. People pay attention. They recognize the significance of the moment. Your expressions of happiness become precious, meaningful events rather than background noise. Now I want to address the elephant in the room. Some of you might be thinking, but isn't life too short to hold back? Shouldn't we shout our happiness from the rooftops? I understand this perspective, but I want you to consider a deeper truth. Life isn't about the loudest expressions of emotion. It's about the deepest experiences of them. By keeping your mouth shut when you're happy, you're not diminishing your joy, you're intensifying it. You're creating a rich inner world that no external circumstance shake. Think of the happiest people you know. The ones who seem to have an unshakable sense of peace and contentment. I bet they're not the ones constantly proclaiming their joy. They're the ones who carry it with them silently, like a hidden treasure that informs every aspect of their being. This practice also protects your happiness from the inevitable ups and downs of life. When you're not constantly verbalizing your emotional state, you create a buffer between your inner world and external events. You become less reactive, more stable, more resilient. Imagine your happiness as a delicate flame. Every time you open your mouth to proclaim it, you expose that flame to the winds of the world. But when you cup it close, protect it, nurture it in silence, it grows stronger. It becomes a blazing fire that can warm you even in the coldest seasons of life. Now, I want to be clear. This isn't about suppressing your emotions or becoming closed off. It's about discernment. It's about understanding the power of your happiness and treating it with the reverence it deserves. Think of it like a precious gem. You don't wear your most valuable jewels every day, flashing them to everyone you meet. You save them for special occasions. You protect them. You understand their worth. Your happiness is infinitely more valuable than any material possession. Treat it with that level of care and respect. Guard it. Nurture it. Let it be the secret source of your strength and resilience. When you master this art, you'll find that your influence grows exponentially. People will be drawn to your quiet confidence, your unshakable sense of self. They'll want to know your secret to understand the source of your strength. The less you talk about your happiness, the more it will radiate from your being. You'll become a living testament to the power of joy, inspiring others not through words, but through your very presence. This practice also liberates you from the exhausting cycle of seeking validation. When you don't need to constantly verbalize your happiness, you free yourself from the opinions of others. Your joy becomes self-sustaining, fed by your inner convictions rather than external affirmations. Imagine the freedom that comes with this. No more anxiety about how others perceive your emotional state. No more need to curate a perfect image of happiness for the world. Just pure, genuine contentment that flows from within. And this inner focus also makes you more adaptable, more capable of navigating life's challenges. Because your happiness isn't dependent on external expression, it becomes a constant companion, a source of strength you can draw upon in any situation. Think of the most successful people in any field. Athletes, business leaders, artists, scientists. Their greatness doesn't come from constantly talking about their achievements or their emotional state. It comes from a deep inner drive, a quiet confidence that fuels their air. You have that same potential within you. Every time you resist the urge to proclaim your happiness, you're building that inner strength. You're laying the foundation for true greatness. Now, I want to address something important. This practice of keeping your mouth shut when you're happy isn't about becoming emotionless or disconnected. It's about becoming more intentional with your expressions of joy. When you do choose to share your happiness, it becomes infinitely more meaningful. Your words carry weight because they're not constantly flowing. Your expressions of joy become precious gifts, offered thoughtfully and received with genuine appreciation. This approach also makes you more attuned to the happiness of others. When you're not constantly focused on expressing your own emotional state, you create space to truly see and celebrate the joy of those around you. You become a better friend, a better partner, a better leader. Imagine the impact you can have when your focus shifts from proclaiming your own happiness to genuinely uplifting others. The ripple effect is incredible. You become a catalyst for joy, not through empty words, but through authentic connection and support. This practice also deepens your gratitude. When you're not constantly verbalizing your happiness, you create space to truly appreciate its source. You become more aware of the blessings in your life, more thankful for the simple joys that surround you every day. How often do we take our happiness for granted? How often do we rush to share it without truly savoring it ourselves? By keeping your mouth shut, you give yourself the gift of fully experiencing your joy before diluting it with words. This deepened gratitude becomes a powerful force in your life. It makes you more resilient in the face of challenges. It helps you maintain perspective when things don't go as planned. It becomes the foundation of a truly contented. I want to touch on something crucial. The relationship between silence and personal growth. When you're not constantly expressing your happiness, you create space for self-reflection. You give yourself the opportunity to truly understand the source of your joy, to identify patterns, to cultivate more of what truly fulfills you. This self-awareness is invaluable. It allows you to make more intentional choices to align your actions with your deepest values and desires. You become the architect of your own happiness, not just a passive recipient of fleeting emotion. Think of it like tending a garden. When you're constantly picking flowers and showing them off, you're not giving them time to grow, to deepen their roots, to become more vibrant and resilient. But when you nurture your garden in quiet dedication, allowing each plant to flourish in its own time, you create a lush paradise that sustains itself and brings joy not just to you. This approach to happiness cultivates patience and trust in the process of personal growth. It's easy to get caught up in the need for instant gratification, to want to broadcast every small victory or moment of joy. But true, lasting happiness, the kind that sustains you through life's inevitable challenges, takes time to develop. Like keeping your mouth shut when you're happy, you're giving yourself the gift of that time. You're allowing your joy to mature, to deepen, to intertwine with every aspect of your being. This isn't about denying yourself the pleasure of happiness. It's about maximizing its impact on your life. Consider how this practice might transform your decision making. When you're not constantly seeking external validation for your emotional state, you become more attuned to your inner compass. Your choices become guided by genuine fulfillment rather than the desire to create a certain image or elicit specific reactions from others. This internal focus fosters authenticity. In a world where it's all too easy to get caught up in presenting a curated version of our lives, choosing to keep your happiness close allows you to live more genuinely. You no longer feel the pressure to maintain a facade of constant joy. Instead, you develop a quiet confidence that comes from knowing your worth isn't tied to others' perceptions of your emotional state. This authenticity, in turn, attracts authentic connections. When you're not constantly proclaiming your happiness, you create space for more meaningful interaction. People are drawn to the depth and sincerity that radiates from someone who is content within themselves, without the need for constant external affirmation. Think about how this might impact your professional life. In many workplaces, there's an unspoken pressure to always appear positive and enthusiastic. But when you master the art of quiet confidence, you bring a different kind of energy to your work. You become the calm center in the midst of chaos, the reliable presence that others turn to for support and guidance. This doesn't mean you never express joy or excitement about your work. Rather, it means that when you do, it carries real weight. Your enthusiasm becomes contagious not because you're constantly vocalizing it, but because it's genuine and grounded in something deeper than momentary emotion. Moreover, this practice of keeping your happiness close enhances your resilience. When your sense of well-being isn't dependent on constant external expression or validation, you become better equipped to handle life's inevitable setbacks. Your happiness becomes a wellspring of strength you can draw upon in challenging times, rather than a fleeting state that disappears at the first sign of trouble. Consider how this might transform your approach to goal setting and achievement. When you're not constantly verbalizing your happiness about every small win, you create space to focus on the bigger picture. You become more strategic, more patient, more willing to delay gratification in service of larger, more meaningful objectives. This doesn't mean you don't celebrate your achievements. Rather, it means that your celebrations become more meaningful, more intentional. Instead of seeking validation for every step of the journey, you learn to find satisfaction in the process itself, in the quiet knowledge that you're making progress towards something significant. This approach also fosters a deeper sense of empathy and connection with others. When you're not constantly focused on expressing your own happiness, you become more attuned to the emotional states of those around. You develop a keener sense of when others might need support, encouragement, or simply a listen. Imagine the impact this could have on your relationships. Instead of engaging in a constant back and forth of emotional expressions, you create space for deeper, more meaningful connections. Your interactions become less about impressing each other with displays of happiness and more about genuine understanding and support. This practice also cultivates a profound sense of gratitude. When you're not rushing to vocalize every moment of joy, you give yourself the opportunity to truly savor it. You become more aware of the small blessings that pepper your days, more appreciative of the simple pleasures that might otherwise go unnoticed. Think about how this might shift your perspective on life. Instead of chasing after big, dramatic moments of happiness to share with the world, you learn to find joy in the quiet, everyday moments. Your happiness becomes more sustainable, less dependent on external circumstances or others' reactions. This internal focus also enhances your creativity. When you're not constantly expending energy on expressing your emotional state, you free up mental and emotional resources for other pursuits. You might find yourself more open to new ideas, more willing to take creative risks, more able to enter that flow state where your best work happens. Consider how this might impact your problem-solving abilities. When you're not caught up in the need to maintain a constant appearance of happiness, you become more willing to sit with challenges, to explore difficult emotions, to grapple with complex issues. Your emotional resilience becomes a tool for tackling obstacles that might otherwise seem insurmountable. This practice of keeping your happiness close also fosters a deeper connection with yourself. In a world that often encourages us to live externally, constantly sharing and seeking validation, choosing to nurture your joy quietly allows you to develop a rich inner life. You become more self-aware, more in tune with your own needs. Imagine how this might transform your self-talk. Instead of constantly narrating your emotional state to others, you develop a more compassionate, understanding internal dialogue. Your self-worth becomes rooted in your own quiet knowledge of your value, rather than in others' reactions to your expressed emotions. This internal focus also enhances your ability to be present in the moment. When you're not constantly thinking about how to express or share your happiness, you can fully immerse yourself in experiences. Whether you're enjoying a beautiful sunset, engaged in a challenging task at work, or spending time with loved ones, you're there fully, completely, without the distraction of thinking about how to communicate your emotional state to others. Consider how this might impact your overall quality of life. Instead of chasing after moments of happiness to share, you learn to find contentment in the present moment, whatever it may hold. Your joy becomes more stable, less dependent on external validation or specific circumstances. This practice also cultivates patience. In a world that often demands instant gratification and constant communication, choosing to keep your happiness close teaches you the value of allowing things to unfold in their own time. You become more comfortable with the gaps between achievement and recognition, more able to find satisfaction in the process rather than just the. Think about how this might transform your approach to personal growth. Instead of seeking constant affirmation for every small step forward, you learn to trust in your own progress. You become more focused on genuine improvement rather than the appearance of success, more willing to embrace the messy, non-linear nature of real growth. This internal focus also enhances your intuition. When you're not constantly externalizing your emotions, you become more attuned to your inner voice. You develop a keener sense of what truly brings you joy, what aligns with your values, what paths will lead to genuine fulfillment rather than fleeting happiness. Consider how this might impact your decision making. Instead of being swayed by the desire to create certain reactions in others, you become more guided by your own inner wisdom. Your choices become more aligned with your authentic self, leading to a life that feels more genuine and satisfying. This practice of keeping your happiness close also fosters a sense of inner peace. In a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable, nurturing your joy quietly creates a stable center within yourself. You become less reactive to external events, more able to maintain your equilibrium in the face of challenges. Imagine how this might transform your stress levels. Instead of feeling the constant pressure to present a happy facade to the world, you develop the ability to find calm and contentment within yourself. Your happiness becomes a resource you can draw upon in difficult times, rather than something you feel compelled to constantly demonstrate to others. This internal focus also enhances your ability to set and maintain boundaries. When your sense of well-being isn't dependent on others' perceptions or reactions, you become more comfortable asserting your needs and limits. You're less likely to compromise your own happiness in an attempt to please others or maintain a certain image. Consider how this might impact your relationships. By maintaining a strong sense of self and a stable internal source of happiness, you're able to engage with others from a place of genuine strength and authenticity. Your connections become more balanced, more mutually supportive, less prone to codependency or people-pleasing behaviors. This practice also cultivates a deeper appreciation for the complexity of human emotions. When you're not constantly trying to present a picture of unmitigated happiness, you become more comfortable with the full spectrum of human experience. You learn to find value in all your emotions, not just the overtly positive ones. Think about how this might transform your emotional intelligence. By developing a more nuanced understanding of your own emotional landscape, you become better equipped to understand and empathize with others. Your interactions become richer, more genuine, more capable of holding space for the full range of human experience. This internal focus also enhances your resilience in the face of criticism or negativity. When your happiness is rooted deeply within yourself, rather than dependent on constant external expression and validation, you become less vulnerable to others' judgments or negative attitudes. You develop the ability to maintain your sense of joy even in challenging interpersonal situations. Consider how this might impact your professional life. In environments where criticism is common or competition is fierce, your ability to maintain your inner happiness becomes a superpower. You're able to take feedback constructively without being emotionally derailed, to stay focused on your goals without being overly swayed by others' opinions. This practice of keeping your happiness close also fosters a sense of mystery and intrigue. In a world where oversharing has become the norm, choosing to nurture your joy quietly sets you apart. You become someone who draws others in not through loud proclamations of happiness, but through the quiet confidence and depth that comes from a well-nurtured inner life. Imagine how this might transform your personal magnetism. Instead of trying to attract others through constant displays of positivity, you develop a more subtle, enduring appeal. People are drawn to the sense that there's more beneath the surface, intrigued by the quiet strength that radiates from someone who's deeply content within themselves.